go, cool. All right, ready to our last Ask Jim for the year, so it's been a big 2024. So we've got a smaller training group today, but it's going to be, the smaller ones are good. We've had better times with the smaller as well. Now, if you are on the Facebook page or YouTube, please leave a question or comment tonight. We'll most likely get to it as well. So I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items just before we get going into everyone's questions here. So the Jim's Lawn Lager, which is the beer which Cooper's tried to sue us over. It was on Channel 10 News, all that sort of stuff. We're redoing it, so it's going to be released again in New South Wales, in BWS. So you can actually buy it from some big outlets there as well. So hopefully when that comes out, it sells out, then it'll go national.
So this is selling out, is it?
Well, the new can, which is going in, it's already gone. So the new one which goes in the stores, which is in Sydney as a test run, if that sells out well enough, Woolworths is going to expand it, or BWS, whoever it is, to Queensland, Victoria as well. So even though you don't drink beer, you've got a beer now.
I'm told it's good.
It is a good beer. All right, so get behind that when it comes out. So we always get asked about when we're doing the beer again. So there'll be an announcement on that next week, actually, that goes live as well. Now, Jim, before we get going as well, you did get a bit of an article this week which went around the place.
Yep.
Which was, maybe do you want to tell a little bit about it to everyone?
Well, it's about yours and my favourite politician, Daniel Andrews.
And what did you say?
And apparently he's been barred from a number of restaurants, which I am right on. So I got on the media and I said, well, I'm not telling my franchises what to do, but as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't do any work for that guy. No health advice, nothing. Which has been proven, because he went to court to say, what were your reasons for making that decision to throw 100,000 plus Victorians out of work when your own department has said they're no danger to public health? Their answer was, we don't have to tell you. We had a good reason, but we're not going to tell you what it was. They had no reason at all. I think the guy's an absolute scumbag, and I hope he gets drummed out of the state.
There we go. So it was pretty well received actually online, so which was pretty good to hear. Back in the past it may not have been, but it was pretty well received online as well, and he's still got his Dan fans and stuff like that who might jump on and tweet aggressively at him. But I
think the tide's turning. I reckon they're going to get kicked out the next election after what's happened. Yeah, this is a Labor government which has the worst lockdown by far of any state, any city in the world, which had the highest death rate from COVID per capita of any state, which has the highest debt per capita of any state, and is by far the worst in terms of business of any state in it. I mean, what a recipe of failure is that? The only incredible thing to me is they got elected last time. I couldn't believe they got back in after what they've done, but I reckon they're going to go.
It's pretty well received. We actually had some pretty big influences, I guess, on their profiles from other states and stuff, showing and shouting you out and all that sort of stuff, which is quite funny to see. Cool. All right, before we get into the questions, though, we do want you to do some announcements. So just before, to give you a bit of background, we have the Jim's Local Heroes program, where every Ask Jim we announce someone to award $2,000 worth of prizes in Australia, and New Zealand's $500 worth as well. So there you go.
Okay, Australian Local Hero winner Timothy Nash, like to nominate Timothy Nazari. Sorry, Timothy Nazari, where's it?
No, it should be, that one. Just read that one there.
Timothy is a hard-working father of 4 who, despite long hours, always makes time to engage with his children. Brilliant father, brilliant neighbour. Though he faces challenges, Timothy remains upbeat and willing to lend a hand to anyone in need. He's a genuine local hero, and any assistance will be deeply appreciated. Thank you, Jim's group, for this generous initiative. It will make a difference. $2,000 worth of Jim's services.
So hard-working dad, hard-working father. I thought we'd give more of an ordinary man, because a lot of people we do have do all this charity work and stuff, but I think being a good dad and being there for your kids is just as important. So that's
good stuff.
Yeah.
New Zealand Local Hero winner Rizwan Khan is president of the local South Auckland Muslim Association, inspirational leader in our community. Under his guidance, youth participation in Friday evening activities has grown significantly. He goes above and beyond, providing meals, prizes, and even his personal time to support and play with the youth, sacrificing his own social time. I believe Mr. Khan delivers special recognition, so $500 worth of Jim's services to Rizwan Khan.
There you go. Well done to those people there. So you're going to head to jims.net. You can nominate a local hero. We do have entries which we go to and we pick them. We read them thoroughly as well. So if you want to nominate someone, head to jims.net. There is some opportunities to nominate people as well, and we
it's
award
a wonderful thing, because people get, they get Australian awards and so forth, but they often tend to be, politicians and people like that, and businessmen who contribute to political parties. It's good to see people who just ordinary people in the community just doing great work. Absolutely, and we award them as well. So $2,000 worth of services Australia, $500 for the New Zealand winner as well, which we'll get in touch as well. So let's get into it. So who's got a question for Jim? Come up, who's the first one on the mic?
Come up, don't be shy. It's easy, you get a prize.
You all told me you had some great questions for me, so...
They've got them written down, but we want you to say them. That's the thing.
Okay,
come up to the mic. You've got to come to the mic.
Yeah,
You've got to see your face and then these clips go on other things. Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Question, if you had your time again and you can go back with the knowledge that you have and everything that you've learned, are there any things that you would do differently? There's like, 1 to 5 things, however many they may be. Just give us your thoughts on that.
A lot more than 5 things, I can tell you. First of all, I would never go back in time more than 15 years because I wouldn't undo any of my kids. But in terms of business decisions, one of the things I've tended to do is to go into business I didn't understand. Like we tried to build fiberglass trailers at one stage, which is not our area. We tried trade exchanges, I tried a tourist venture way back. I've done so many things. I've had a mower shop, I've had a computer shop. I've constantly got into things I don't understand and come just collapse. So by far the best thing I've found is to look at what you already know and work from that. And that's been successful. A lot of things look like great businesses from the outside, but then when you get into them, you realise you don't know enough.
There you go.
Good question.
Really good one there. Got a question, guys? Feel free to jump up to the mic. Just jump up any time and ask. Even though I've got 5 you written down here, just come up and ask them.
You had some questions?
Yeah, come up. You got to come to the mic. That's the thing. You get a prize, so don't worry. You can pick a prize. Anything at the end.
So I just wanted to ask about the Visa platform, and if is that like a Jim's initiative or is just a partner in the business?
You're talking about Bizza?
Yeah, Visa platform.
So we've got a problem in Jim's is because we have a huge amount of unserviced leads, more than 200,000 unserviced leads in the last year. And it's not good service to clients to have to say no all the time. So what we've done is we've got a system where we sell leads to independent contractors with a rating system. So if they don't do well, don't respond properly, we cut them off. So we try and give good service. And and what we do with the money that we create from this, all the profits go back to the franchisees. So we've done things like football, final tickets.
Core vouchers is one, yeah.
Our core vouchers for accommodation and the holidays. We had big screen TVs, $1,000 plus sold for $250.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That kind of stuff. And we just got to do more and more good stuff for franchisees. So all the profits go back to the franchisees because it's your advertising money that does it. But it's been good. But it helps. People have a good experience. So if we can't help them, which is really embarrassing, at least we can help them to get somebody else.
Good question. A lot of time people become franchisees as well, offered as well. I've interviewed a few people who do that.
I've got to say, the struggle is to try and find independents who are as good as our franchisees. And on the average, they're not. We've got some fantastic ones, but it's really a struggle. Because our standards are very high in gyms. So to get independents to do as well as that is quite a challenge.
There you go. Cool. Good question. Got a question, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim on the mic here as well. Go for it. It's not as scary as what you might think.
So hi Jim, it's okay, so my question's a bit more lighthearted. So I would like to know the funniest thing that a franchisee has ever called your personal number to ask you.
Good question. We haven't had that one asked that way before.
Funniest thing? I don't know, they mostly bring me about pretty prosaic stuff. I'm not getting enough leads, or don't like my complaints, or I shouldn't get charged for leads. I wish I could got some giggles out of it, Caroline. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
Good question.
Oh, so it's a good question. It's just, yes. It's. I like being called by my franchisees, but they don't normally crack me up.
Maybe that's your challenge as a franchisee. You can try and get a laugh at it.
Yeah, you see if you can make me laugh when you contact me about something or other.
I'll do it too.
I had an interesting story just now. There's a interview done by Elon Musk, and he was talking about a time when he was just bought out, I think it was Twitter, which is now X, and he saw this guy just lounging around doing nothing, and Elon asked him, he said, what are you doing? He said, just waiting to be paid. He said, how much do we owe? You're thinking he was an employee, he wasn't doing very much. Somebody said, you realise you just tipped the pizza guy delivery for $2,500.
There you go. What was that in a book?
But I like that.
Was that in a book or interview, was it?
That was an interview he did, yeah.
Okay.
Good have it. That's a joke told about himself, which I like. I must say, he's an interesting character, isn't he, Elon? It really is. I admire him. He does some very strange things, but I do admire his technology. The Liftoff is a wonderful book. It's just written about SpaceX, which is fantastic, what he's achieved.
You and him email the same? You got very short emails. There's a lot of emails from Sam Altman to him about ChatGPT and stuff online with Elon's responses, and it's similar to yours. Very short to the point, not more than one sentence at all. Yeah. So very similar in that way. Cool, great question there as well. Got a couple online real quickly, Jim, for you as well, which I'll ask. So Daniel Ciccarone's gone here. Hi, Jim. How's the food forest coming along? So you're speaking about a food forest maybe before at your farm.
Yeah.
How's that been coming along?
It's good. We're growing up. We're planting more stuff all the time. We just planted an orchard with a big mesh so that the birds don't eat it all. And just put a whole lot of trees in. Yeah, it's great fun.
What are you planting? What type of fruits or veg?
Lots of different fruits like apricots, peaches, figs, apples. We've got citrus fruits, lemon, lime, mandarin, lots of things. And in my own garden, in my personal garden, I've got potatoes, I've got pumpkin, zucchini, which is just coming ripe. I've got raspberries, silver beet, blueberries. What have I forgotten? Lots of stuff.
Yeah, Jim's Farmer's Market.
Potatoes taste really good, actually, straight from the farm. We had some for dinner last night. My wife cooked them. They're just little ones like that. They've just got a different taste somehow than anything you get from the shops. Really nice.
You know, another one online real quickly from Jason's gone. Is there any intention of starting a childcare franchise?
Nah.
Do you want to explain why?
Because we're not good at that kind of thing. We don't understand site-based franchises. I get asked a lot about site-based franchises. It's a different business. The only time we ever got into site-based was to do with a healthcare chain, and it was a disaster. The people who invested lost a lot of money, including my wife, I might say. So we stick to what we know. Any service business we understand how to do: fencing, mowing, cleaning, dog wash, pest control. Bookkeeping, they're all great businesses because they work in a similar way. People call or book in to get a service and we go and provide it. We're good at that stuff. But site-based, not interested.
There you go. Cool. Got any questions, guys? Feel free to come up and ask Jim.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Anyone can ask. Just ask him whatever you want. It's for you guys to ask anything you like. It's all recorded on camera so you can hold him to it. It's a good one.
I'm just wondering if you've had any big ideas that you've pitched to your team that they've turned around and said, no, Jim, look, let's not do that.
It's not easy. So no.
Well, I don't know, actually. Most of my team's too scared of it. All right.
We'll try and make it work most of the time. We'll try and do it.
Yeah, they do. They're a good bunch. I get scatterbrained guys all the time, and mostly they come along and support. Sometimes people probably should say no to me. Some of the stupid stuff I've done.
It's not easy. You're not an easy man to say no.
I'm not an easy man. I'm full of bursting and full of energy and enthusiasm, but it's...
You can tell Jim no, but you've got to say why, and then he'll argue the why with you. And he's a very good person, and he's very good at arguing.
I do listen to advice. Mostly about how things are done. The child's got a big smile on his face over there. He knows me well. We've been with us for a while. Yes. No, it's good. That's good. It's a good question.
Thank you.
But the answer is no.
Sometimes they should. Sometimes maybe they should. Maybe I should listen a bit harder. I have done some very dumb things. Actually, if you read my book, we've given you a copy in the pack, you'll see a lot of my mistakes there.
But I think the key is we try things though. We try a lot of things and they don't work out, or some work out.
Yeah, I come up with a new idea probably every couple of days about something, and it's often from talking to franchisees, which is a source of good ideas, or just thinking about or reading something. I read on average probably a couple of books a week or listen to them, so I'm always got ideas about different things to do. One of the things we're doing just now, actually, I'm just starting this week, is I want to interview all my staff. I'm looking for management potential. Like Joel started in a basic job, minimum wage, actually temporary, now one of my top managers in a totally different area. And I'm looking for talent like him, so I want to find out who's my best staff, who's got that kind of initiative, the ability to learn and do new things. That's just coming out of a book, one of the books I just read recently. Suggested that kind of stuff.
A lot of the time when you come with new ideas, it's like, well, what book did you listen to? So we can listen to the same book to see what you come with.
Every now and then I buy, if I like a book, I'll buy like 4 copies and deliver them to my staff, and poor old Rocky groans, not another one.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happens.
Not a great reader, but...
yeah, it's good. Cool. Got a question for Jim, guys? Feel free to come up and ask. Yeah, just come up. Ask him anytime.
Hey, Jim. I would like to know what are the top three challenges that you realize during these days for the building inspections division that franchises face in the earliest stage of their business?
Well, building inspections basically there's some divisions like fencing and mowing where generally speaking or dog wash, we flood you with work. Building inspections is very different. You've got to actually have the ability, the nous to get out there and find clients, build relationships. And it's an incredible deal that they offer. One of the cleverest things the building, we're now going to 150, we're by
170.
170, we're by far the biggest. This only started just 10 years ago. They're by far the biggest company of its kind in Australia. There's fantastic ideas they've got. Like you go to an agent and you say, okay, I'll do a building inspection on this house, no charge. If anybody's interested, they pay me for it. So anybody who wants it can just get it from me directly, but it doesn't cost the estate agent anything. So somebody says, want to have a look at a house? How good is it? And you say, look, I can show you a building inspection report. Not only that, but it gives the owner an opportunity to actually go and fix the problems so there aren't any problems with the property. So that's just an idea. So you approach an agent and you sell them on this kind of idea, which means that instead of selling the report once, you might sell it 2 or 3 or 4 times. But you've got to follow your referral network and do your proper. In building inspections, unlike mowing or cleaning, where we have a pay-for-work guarantee where you do the job, with building inspections, you've actually got to do promotional activity, approach people, get business cards, that sort of thing. You've got to approach the local agents, for example, and make a deal with them. It's a brilliant business that really has gone extraordinarily well. It's a terrific credit to Paul Comerford who started it. And it's an interesting example of a business that's actually, it's harder to get clients than most, but it's got a pretty good success rate, quite low attrition by comparison with many other divisions. It's one of my favourite divisions, actually. I really think it's great. A lot of very, mostly, what's your background?
Structural engineer.
Yeah.
Structural engineer, yeah.
Site engineer for 10 years.
So you get a lot of people from really advanced technical backgrounds, and builders and engineers and so forth, who really know the industry very well, and they come in and doing this, and it's very popular.
They've got a great app as well. They've invested a lot in their app, a lot of money in their app. So.
Yeah, it's a dedicated app that Paul developed to actually do your reports on.
There's a lot of good interviews on. Have you seen the interviews with the other building inspection franchisees we've done? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them as well.
Some send me to me.
Yeah, they're pretty much, they'll tell you from the start and all that sort of stuff. And you're lucky you get Sam is there. Sam's in JBI, he's on day one.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff he says about local area marketing is all the JBI playbook. So all the stuff that he teaches as local area marketing is pretty much the JBI playbook.
There's some wonderful videos on that too. We've got a lot of really good stuff that Joel and Charlie's done on the on how to build that business. But your franchisors are very good too. People like Sam and all the others are fantastic at what they do, and they can give you very good support and guidance. It's a great division.
Thank you.
Hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
No worries. Come up, go for it. Got a couple more online, Jim, which I'll get you in a minute too.
I have 2 questions.
Go for it.
So first one, what was? Can you tell us about a business mistake or a bad decision you made, and what you learned from it, for example? And second question, why did you shave your beard? Thank you.
Like I said, many bad mistakes. I mean, apart from going into businesses that I don't understand, we made a very disastrous mistake some years back when we wanted to rewrite our software, and we employed somebody who turned out to be a very, very bad fit. It ended up costing us a fortune, had far too many staff on, and we had to virtually undo everything that he'd done. That cost us millions of dollars, literally. We've got 2 great teams now working, one on FMS, which is the system we use to allocate work and so forth, and one working on Jim's Jobs, which is our system to support the franchisees use to control their businesses. So we've got a great system now, but that particular mistake cost us millions, and not just in money that we wasted, but also in delaying getting things done that's so important. As to why I shaved my beard, well, the reason I grew a beard was back when I was about 30, I was engaged to this girl and she liked beards, so I grew a beard to keep her happy, all right? And then, when I was not at my own decision, found myself single in my late 40s, my beard was starting to go a bit grey, and I thought, I'm going to find a girl, I don't need to look any older than I am, so I shaved it off. We totally live for women, isn't that right? Our whole lives are just to impress you, ladies. That is true. I'm sure every man will agree here.
So if you want to see what Jim used to look like with the beard, you go to Jim's Instagram. There's a pinned photo of him next to the trailer. You can see it there as well. We've done some videos and stuff where Jim has the beard and pulls it back out. So it's all on his Instagram as well if you want to check it out.
We struggle to understand them, the ladies, don't we? Isn't that right? There's a story about a man who unearthed a genie. You know, the genie in a bottle, but it wasn't a 3 wish. It was only a 1 wish genie. And she said, the genie says you can have 1 wish only. What's it to be? And this guy says, well, look, I've always wanted to go into space, but I'm afraid of flying. So what I want you to do is to build me a road to the moon so I can drive to the moon. And the genie says, don't be ridiculous. Everybody knows you're not supposed to ask completely impossible things of a genie. He said, ask something else. He said, all right, then what I would like to do is to understand women. Genie says, how many lanes do you want on this highway?
Jim's jokes, it's always a good one. We'll clip that up and we'll see that does one online there as well. He's got some good ones as well. Cool, got any more questions for Jim, guys? Feel free to come up and ask him. Anything that's on your mind? Anything at all? Personal, business, science, research, whatever?
I have a couple of questions. Question one is, was there ever a moment that you vividly remember where you were just on the verge of quitting, just letting go, not going ahead with what you've built now? And what sort of pulled you?
The only time I've ever been on the verge of it was right back, it's in the book actually, right in my early stage when I just started mowing lawns full time and I was completely bust, deeply in debt, really struggling. And I had a really terrible time when my car broke down late at night in the job and stuff. And I was feeling very, very, very demoralized, really felt defeated. It was just so hard. I was struggling. I had these huge debts. I was supporting a wife at that time, just newly married, but it was really, really difficult. And what I actually did was I thought, just put one step in front of another. What do you do? So I thought, okay, don't worry about the future, just think, what do I do? So I rang a friend to come and get me to I had a trail load of rubbish to take away, and then I rang the RACV for help. And as I sat there in the car waiting for them to arrive, I put a music cassette, which is Keith Green, because I was a new Christian in those days. And I loved Chris. And I thought, if this doesn't defeat me, with all the things that have gone wrong, with all the struggles, if this can't defeat me, then nothing ever will. And I was about like 30 at the time, 31. And I've never since then, I've never felt, I've always had a mission. My mission was my research project, and in later years, my mission is my franchisees. And that always gives me a sense of purpose. And I think if you have a reason for living, reason for what you do, you don't want to give up. You can't give up. You might get a blind alley, something doesn't work, you've failed. Okay, what do I do next? I do something else. I do something else, do something else. But what was that question?
I don't know, what was the other part of the question? I was listening to the answer myself.
The second part was just, do you still mow your own lawns?
Do you still mow your own lawns?
Oh, at my farm I do. I've got a push mower, believe it or not. It's actually one of those ones that you've got to push it and it churns over and does the grass. I like that manual thing, which is actually the first lawn I ever mowed was one of those things at home. One of my jobs was to mow the family lawn when I was a kid, and I used a push mower. So that was back to my roots again. I like it actually. It's a funny thing, I was a gardener for 15 years, lawn mowing contractor, more actually in a way, part-time or full-time. That's my hobby. At the weekend, I like to garden. I get filthy dirty. I dig up, plant things, and love it. Mowing lawns is quite fun actually. If you don't have to. But even for a living, it was good actually. When people often ask me, they say, "What is the best business to go into?" And I said, "Do what you love. Don't worry about the money. The money will come if you put your heart into what you're doing." And I love gardening. I love being outside. I love green stuff.
And the story you told before, you're working on the new book as well. So do you want me to tell them about the new book? Because obviously they get all the Every Customer a Fan book. But what's the new book you're working on? Because it's going to have more franchisee stories in there as well.
Yeah, the latest version is called No Other Success. And it's based on the saying, no other success can compensate for failure in the home. And it starts off with an anecdote about a guy who rang on his 10-year anniversary whose son had... he was in a retail management job, working very long hours, making good money, but working very long hours. And he had to leave first thing in the morning. And one day his little son said to him, "Daddy, I wish you could have breakfast with us." So he drove to work, tears streaming down his face, quit his job, bought a mowing franchise, And ever since then, he's been able to have breakfast with his son, who's now 14 years old. And he said nothing, it's actually similar money to what he was making then, according to what he told me. But nothing could make up for that time that I would have lost not seeing my son. So it's a lot of stories about that, how people's lives have been changed, which is really, really great.
And you're doing the audio book as well, so I know you didn't want to do it, but you're voicing the audio
I am
book.
finishing, I'm doing the audio books.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was the best person, but this guy tells me.
Yeah, we got you to do it. So the audio book will be good when it comes out as well. So hopefully looking forward to getting it to everyone as well.
It is too. A lot of stories actually from the interviews that Joel's given.
Yeah, so it's really good because we thought there's a lot of people that's businesses impacted, but actually hear from them as well. I thought we'd give them a good opportunity as well. Cool. All right, anyone got any more questions for Jim? I've got some online, but if you've got any questions for Jim, feel free to come up and ask.
Yes, a few people.
Yep, just
over
ask.
here.
Come up
Yeah.
and ask. Yep, anything on your mind, just go for it.
I know you. I spoke to all of you before. You all said you had questions. So.
Hi, I just wonder, do you have any plan to expand the Jim's group to any other country, new countries in the future?
Yes, we've got one of our top guys, Dan Cole, you'll be hearing from tomorrow morning. He's looking at opening up in Florida, probably later towards the end of this year.
That'd be Jim's Mowing in Florida, yeah.
Jim's Mowing in Florida, yeah. So we're looking forward to that. We think it's going to be exciting. There's nothing like what we do in America or anywhere else in the world. It's a very different system.
Thank you.
So Jim's already been doing some, we're trying to get him on an American podcast as well, because even though you're well known here, trying to get you on some more
Well,
American
one of the
podcasts.
reasons for this book too is actually I'm working with an editor in the US, and we're actually doing it to suit the American
US
market.
Yeah, it's more written towards that.
Which is actually strange because a lot of the terminology that we use doesn't actually get to. You don't understand what I mean. So you have to translate Australian sayings into American English, or at least understandable.
Yeah, but that'd be exciting. So hopefully there, and obviously New Zealand's going great guns as well. And we do have franchisees in Canada.
Yeah.
And yeah,
We're actually growing faster in New Zealand than we are in Australia.
it's been a big market,
Mainly
right?
because the economy is so crappy that we've got work. So if you want a job, well, there's not much jobs around, so you can do cleaning or mowing.
And
Or
speaking
dog
of
watching.
New Zealand, I'll get to a couple online real quickly as well. So Niv Shastri's gone here. I've got Jim's Mowing and Jim's Cleaning. So he's got two dual franchises actually in Wellington and Waiapera. He goes, I want to add more vehicles to develop the region. Should I become a franchisor or just add more vehicles?
The top earners in gyms are actually not franchisors. Most of them are franchisees. So I'd say keep on employing people is the best thing.
Or you could do splits as well if you want to.
Do splits.
Yeah.
But putting workers on is good if you can do it. And in New Zealand, it's not difficult because the economy is so bad. If you've got work, it's easy to find. It's not difficult to find work.
A very vocal negative attitude towards Daniel Andrews being considered as bad advertising by your franchisees.
Actually, my franchisees like it because basically I stood up for them during COVID. I don't think it's done any harm at all. In fact, what we found is that we weren't growing before COVID, and during COVID we started to grow quite rapidly. And I do think that public exposure in the best possible way. Because let's face it, if you're the kind of person with numbers, so I think the fact that we stood up for independent contractors of any kind, the kind of people who want to become franchisees are not typically your civil servants and your lawyers and your greeny woke spokesmen. Those kind of people want to work for the government in some cushy job, Our people are ordinary Australians, and those people appreciate, I think, that we did for them. What happened with COVID was just stupid. Everybody recognised it towards the end. When you saw council workers working in groups, and independent, people working by themselves were forbidden to work, people could see how insane it was.
But it was a good opportunity as well to build your profile, and we did do it
with the help of
we did do it. So it was
Joel and our PR people.
Yeah, so we did never let a crisis go to waste, but it was a really good time in direct because no one else was standing up for independent contractors, and that was the main point as well. People forget that.
It was very tough in the beginning.
It was
I
very
got a
hard,
lot of flack.
A lot of hate in the beginning.
Two of my daughters wouldn't speak to me for months. They were actually telling their mother to divorce me. That's how angry they felt.
I remember you called me at 11 o'clock at night, and when you get a call from Jim at 11 o'clock at night, you think something's really, really bad. And that was when the story went live on the Channel 7 Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then it was just berserk. From there, then we sort of doubled down and we didn't go back, and it's worked out in our favour in the end. So
Yeah, I think it did in the end.
it was pretty interesting times. Cool. Got those questions online, which is great. If you've got any more questions, guys, feel free to come up and ask Jim. Anyone got anything on their mind about the business, franchise, anything at all?
Who hasn't asked? Come on, I had people before said I had a question.
Well, you've got one which is specifically about, am I allowed to have a subcontractor to work for you? So can he have a subcontractor to work for him in mowing? That's the question.
Yeah.
Can he have a subcontractor?
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, you can. just make sure they're uniformed and driving a signed vehicle.
And you're responsible for their complaints. So you
Yes.
can't say the subby did it, I'm not responsible. Yeah, so you're responsible for it.
Yeah, you can. However you like to employ people is up to you. You can put them on wages, you can put them on subcontract. Yeah, but you've got to watch their watch their level of customer service. The thing that impressed me, Dan, that you'll hear from tomorrow morning, he had a business that turned over close to $1 million at its peak before he became one of our top franchisors. But the thing that was really striking about Dan is he had all these workers and he was doing this enormous turnover, but he had a 5.0 rating, server rating. To have like 3 teams of guys going out working and still achieve 5.0 was remarkable. So it's a challenge. And to be quite honest, I never achieved that. When I had subbies, my customer service was terrible, really bad. You couldn't get away with it these days.
I do have a second business. Can I use that as my subcontractor or do a partnership between my both business?
So the question was, he's got a second business and he wants to use it as a partnership or the subcontractor from that to
Yeah, sure.
his business.
Or whatever terms you like. You're the franchisee. As a franchisee, you've got certain requirements that you need to do, like uniform, paying your fees obviously, and above all customer service. But apart from that, you're very free to run your business whichever way you want, and we'll help you to do it. If you want to grow your business, put people on, not only do we allow it, but we'll encourage it, and we'll actually show you how to do it, and we'll show you great videos, and we'll put you in touch with people who've done it already, so we'll help you to do it. We love these stories. It's like this guy that Joel interviewed recently, turning over $2 million in the last year.
Yeah, that's a good one to watch.
With 5 workers.
Yeah.
Now here's a guy who's been, 4 years in the
4
business?
years into it, yeah.
4 years in the business, making profit more than $1 million a year. Think about it.
Which division? What was the division?
That's in
Mowing.
mowing. We're not
Mowing.
talking about your division, it can be done. That was in Jim's mowing, but he's a really gun businessman. that guy.
The biggest earners in gyms are actually mowing and cleaning franchisees, typically. Like Poppy, the lady who organises the cleaning for my farmhouse. They go there once a month, do a great job, but she had like a dozen workers within 12 months of starting. People from her own ethnic group. She's a Filipina. So
We actually did it quick at the divisional conference. I actually interviewed all the divisionals and said, who's your top earning franchisee? And it doesn't matter the service, it could be mobile tyres, there's a guy earning $500,000, there's other divisions, 450, 600 range, so it's quite broad in the group with what people earn.
yes, that's right. We've got people who are dog wash who've got half a dozen trailers. It's for us.
Absolutely.
We think of ourselves as a kind of millionaire factory. And it's not what most franchisees want. They just want a nice lifestyle with good flexibility. But if you want to become wealthy, we'll show you how to do it. We've got all the models in the world. We've got leads, we've got systems, we've got software, we've got mentors, training, seminars, all kinds of things to show you how to do this amazing businesses. We reckon we've created more millionaires than any company in the history of this country.
There you go, the Millionaire Factory. That's what I call them in. Any questions for guys? For Jim, guys, please feel free to come up and ask. Yep, just come up and ask him, mate. Go for it. We need you on there so we can do the clip. I've got a few online too, Jim, which I'll ask as well.
You probably get asked this quite a bit. There's obviously a vast majority of this. There's a lot of franchises like dog washing, building inspections, and everything like that. What's your best advice for anybody that's starting out in the industry with you?
What's my best advice to anybody starting out? Just keep on learning. Be passionate about your customers, emotionally passionate, not just to the sake of ticking the box, but learn all the time. Go to meetings, talk to your franchisor, talk to the other franchisees, build networks, watch videos, listen to talking books while you're driving around. Just keep on learning all the time. You can run a business where you just get to a certain stage and you just stay there, like as if you were working in a factory and you make the same forever. It's possible. We won't say no to you. But if you want to, you can just keep on growing. And the really strange thing about it doesn't matter how much you're earning, you can always do 10% better. I'm talking about in the same hours. So you're making $60 an hour, you can make $70 an hour. If you're making 70, you can make 80. If you're making 90, you can make 100. If you're making 150, you make 160. There's ways to do it. There is really no upper limit to what you can achieve if you keep on learning. The biggest problem people have, it's not because you're stupid or lazy, it's somebody who doesn't want to listen. Because they'll be doing something that's causing them problems. And we will be telling them, you need to do this. And they say, no, I don't need to do that. You need to give me more leads. You need to do this. The system's wrong. The clients are wrong. I don't need to change. Everybody else needs to change. And they're the people that tend to do badly. But the person that says, no matter what went wrong, what could I do different? It's like this guy I told you about, that IT head. He was a disaster for us. But what's the lesson? No use blaming him. My fault. I chose him. Or I was one of the people that chose him. In fact, in the initial interview, I actually preferred somebody else, but I got talked around. But the point of it is, we still stuck with him for far too long. So you see, what mistake did I do? How can I learn to not make that mistake again? Or like my factory for fiberglass trellis, what was my mistake? What did I do wrong? How can I avoid that in the future? And that's what you've got to do. Look at what you're doing all the time and saying, how can I do it better? And there's no upper limit at all.
Good question. We've got a couple online here, Jim, which I'll read out. If you've got a question, feel free to come up as well. Will Hodgson on YouTube's going, hi, Jim, how did you pivot from working by yourself, for yourself, to employing your first person? Well, did you employ your first person, or was it a subby?
Subby.
Subby. So you didn't employ anyone? No.
No, oh, no. I had. By the time I had office staff, but I never really employed anybody to mow lawns.
So you always used subbies?
It was all subcontracted.
Yeah.
Terrible service, but it was. I did it fairly quick actually, because I found it very easy to find clients. Remarkably easy. I was always picking up clients really fast, so I had to work out a way to find people to help me out.
But your first employees were when you got into the head office, when you had a head office going. That was when you were your first person.
That's right.
There you go. Another one from Niv's gone. What about adding property management division to accommodate cleaning, mowing, handyman, and other services? I think it's an internal division.
Yeah, we're looking at employing somebody. I think starting fairly soon we'll be getting into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
which is good, because property management is great, because it's a way of giving work to our franchisees as well.
Yeah, that's the plan in Victoria first. It's already got a website and stuff. We've done a logo, so it's actually going to happen. So if you're in New Zealand, maybe it's a bit different. So maybe, once it gets going here, we can definitely do it.
We have a very big contracts department too.
Yeah,
they do.
It's massive, millions and millions of dollars.
Tens of millions of dollars a year worth of work. Basically, all preference you're given to franchisees across the country.
Jim's contracts, they do a good job. Then Glenn Sharp here is online's gone, hi guys, as you're aware, I own Lawn Dr. Camden. So Glenn's an independent who always tunes in. He says, I want to thank Jim for your help and advice. I now have a heap of clients and could not be more grateful for your help. So you've been giving this independent a lot of help as well. He's looking at hiring a new person, which is very nice.
Yeah, good on you. I have enormous respect for independents who succeed at that level. It's quite challenging, and we know quite well the failure rate's very high. First year attrition rate for an independent cleaning, gardening business typically between 90 and 95%. So something like that, the lawn doctor, is very impressive. In fact, if I see somebody who's been successful as an independent to some extent, I really, really want to get them into gyms, because I know they'll be absolutely brilliant.
And the ones who do come into gyms, they do really, really well. So that's good to know that from an independent listening to you as well, not just having a shot in the Lawn Mowing Contractors Association group.
I think it's one of the most warming things during COVID. It was the independents thanked me, because I stood up for them as well.
Yeah, we do a lot of emails.
It wasn't just my own guys. That was really... And actually, one of the things they said too is there is a certain amount of hostility amongst them too, but a lot of people say something different. They say one of the things we do is we tend to raise the prices in the industry. So we make it more respectable, so that you can charge something like 60, 70 bucks an hour, which a lot of independents have learned from
More
us.
now, they're charging more, the average rate, based on some surveys.
Is it?
Yeah. It's around $100, 90, 90 sort of range now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But we actually, by speaking about this and by emphasising great service, good prices, we're actually telling other people how to do the same thing, and I'm very pleased with that. We're all in the same industry. We're in the same... they're kind of like brothers in arms in a way.
Well, you're very popular in the Lawn Mowing Contractors Association group in some ways, but they always share the content in there and have 50,000 comments on it. But it's good to hear that Glenn is taking your advice as well, so it's good. Got any more questions, guys, for Jim about anything at all? For you guys, it's a great opportunity to ask him whatever you want. You got one here? You got to come up and unfortunately got to get on the mic.
So I just want to ask about a different subject. What's your thoughts on the elections and the political situation in Australia? And if on your road to the top, was there a lot of political issues and a lot of politicians trying to take you down?
Did you throw a grenade there, that one? You run away back to your chair.
So what's my political position? Is that what you're
Well,
asking?
maybe thoughts on the upcoming Australian political elections, and then we'll go in the second one after that.
Yeah, I don't think everything Labor government's done has been bad. I think sometimes they can actually look a bit like traditional Labor, standing up for ordinary people. I think one of the examples is the business with superannuation. The people can't get tax deduction for more than $3 million worth of superannuation. And I think there's a lot of people screaming about that. I think it's a great practice because in fact, that's what we do. I don't need superannuation. I've got Jim's group. I'm never likely to run out of money. But we have superannuation because it's tax effective, it's tax free. So I think when the government looks at that kind of rort and says, hey, let's do something about it, I actually applaud them. Even the state government in Victoria, which is an abysmal government, is still doing something to relax zoning regulations, which I give them credit for. But on the whole, I think really the Labor government, and particularly the state government, is really bad for business. They just don't understand. They think the way to get prosperity is to tax higher, more regulations, more red tape, more anti-business, and somehow we'll all be prosperous. It's just delusional.
Well, Victoria got the worst in Australia, so for business. So
the worst government for business. And even South Australia does best. It just talks about the number of permits you need to do things. You need to get 40 permits to do the most simple things.
Payroll taxes and all these sorts of things.
Yes, just terrible. Yeah. So I'm generally speaking a Liberal supporter because I'm in favour of small business. Big business quite likes the Labor actually. They're like your people like your Qantases and so forth. They're pretty comfortable with Labor government. But small business, you're a nong if you're in small business and you can't see the sense of voting Liberal.
There you go. Well, you get called a Liberal shill anyway, especially after that Daniel Andrews article the other day. There's a few people on X who obviously vote for a certain person and going pretty hard at you. And what was the other bit about it was any politicians tried to take him down on his way up.
Nah. I think I'm more a threat to them than they are to me. They actually, when I made the first fuss about it, apparently the Premier told the police commissioner to target Jim's mowing trailers.
No, he came out and said it. So Shane Patton came out and said it at a press conference.
Did he?
And it was recorded. So someone asked him about, will you be going after Jim's mowing franchisees or something like that? Oh yes, we'll be keeping a lookout for Jim's mowing franchisees and pulling them over and making sure they comply. So he specifically named Jim's mowing in it. But Dan Andrews is clever though. He refused to name you. Yes, I have seen that man's letters. He never said your name, never said the brand or anything like that. But Shane Patton specifically
he never admitted to reading any of them.
Of course he read them.
Yeah. But you know the interesting thing during the lockdown was this: that the powers that be might have said it, but the ordinary coppers were fantastic. One guy got pulled. We had many of our people actually working right through COVID. Not once did the police stop them. You see a police car pull up next to a guy, full regalia, mowing trailer, the whole lot, didn't do anything. The police were great. They knew how stupid the whole thing was. I have enormous respect for the Victorian police. Very little respect for the Victorian government, but I think the Victorian police are fantastic.
But in hindsight, it was pretty absurd that the police minister stood out and said, we're going to target Jim's mowing franchisees. It was pretty absurd.
Well, he might say it because
I know.
He lives at the privilege of, he works for the Premier.
I know, but
the police have a lot more sense.
It was pretty absurd, but not one person got pulled over or any in trouble.
We have some great franchisees who come from the police force.
We've got a lot.
I like people who come from the police or the military. Those kinds of backgrounds tend to do very well.
Well, the guy with the biggest TikTok account in Jim's pool care, Jason, was a retired policeman or a former copper. So a former copper's got the biggest TikTok account in Australia now for pool care. So there you go. So we have a lot of them. Another couple of questions online. So Niv's gone. He's in Wellington. He wants to do Jim's property management. And he's also commented here saying, now many competitors are starting environmentally friendly mowing options. So what about future serviced robotic lawn mowing services is a question mark.
Well, we're as environmentally friendly as we possibly can be. We strongly encourage our franchisees to use electric mowers. Yeah. Battery ones are good. They've actually got many advantages. Some of the new ones they've got batteries that can last for 5 hours, and even if not, you can switch the batteries over so you can mow lawns all day. A lot of them use petrol power for the mowers, but they use batteries for everything else, like the brush cutters and so forth. There's many advantages too. It's not just the fact they cost a bit more, but they're much lower maintenance. They last a lot longer. They don't break down as much. They're also quieter, which is the big factor when you're doing things like certain kinds of nursing homes and so forth. So the noise is a really big issue. And the other thing too is that some franchisees, they can get like an RSI, repetitive strain injury, from the vibration of the mowers. Well, electric mowers don't have that kind of problem too.
They can hedge longer, they can do a lot of different things.
So we are very interested in that. And we spend a lot of time working with our franchisees too on things like travel. Like our system of directing work to trade shows so that you can choose your area. So you start taking leads from a larger area and then you shrink and shrink and shrink and take it from a smaller and smaller area. And then ideally you do splits or you sell off your outlying jobs so you're travelling less and less and less. So eventually you're going into a street and you're doing like 5 properties and you're working there half the day. which is really, really lucrative, but it's also good for the environment.
We do a lot more franchisees using a full battery setup as well, especially the inner city areas as well. Maybe like, the vans in Sydney, for example, some might use a full Makita range or a Palenque range and stuff like that. Customers actually prefer them as well, so they really like it as well.
We're very green in this place too. We've got, you can see on the roofs here, there's the solar panels. And we're looking forward to a time where we can go completely off the grid. But I have an electric car and I power it from the sun. So I just charge it. I only power it during the day when the sun's shining, power directly from the sun. So I power my car on sunlight, not coal.
And a lot of franchisees have the solar powered trailers and they charge the battery as they go. They have an inverter in the side and that charges the batteries from the solar power. So we have that available too. Yeah. So
I think green thinking, I'm not a fanatical greenie, but I think that actual environmentalism is good business sense. If you can keep your carbon emissions down, you're saving money.
Well, cleaning's another one. So cleaning have all the enzyme-based, environmentally friendly products as well. And a lot more people are asking for, what are you using in my home? So the Jim's Cleaning Group have all those products as well. So it's becoming more and more prevalent. So you will find customers asking for a bit more.
And we do encourage clients too to consider options like mulching flower beds instead of digging them up. It's better for the environment.
There we go. Got any more questions for Jim, guys? I've got a couple more online real quickly I'll read out. So Glenn Sharp's gone here. Sorry, can I ask where I can get the mowing trailers from? I feel like saying go to become a Jim's Mowing franchisee today, but I don't know, anything local trailer people make them.
No, there's certain people. If you want to know, just email me, Jim@jims.net. Tell me where you are and I'll put you on to someone who's in that area, because there's different people in different states.
And Glenn's asked as well, and what percentage do you take for leads?
We don't take a percentage, we take a flat lead fee, which is usually about $20 a lead.
And there's a discount built in. Do you want to talk about the discount real quickly?
15%.
Yeah.
Because we charge for the lead, but we take a discount, 15% off, to count for the ones you just cannot reach when you ring back them back.
Guys, got any more questions for Jim at all? Anyone more? Any more? No?
Who hasn't asked one? I think most people here have asked you a question, haven't you?
They have, yeah, which has been good. I'll ask you one though for the group, which they may not know. So 2025, you're working on a lot of books. So you mentioned No Other Success, which is sort of a revamp of Every Customer Fan, all that sort of stuff. Maybe what other books are you working on as well?
I'm working on a book about the baby bust. There is a catastrophic collapse in fertility across all wealthy countries, across the developed world, and it's even happening now in places like India. It's down to replacement fertility. It's disastrous in China, Japan, Korea, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe. Really bad. People are just not having kids. And governments are spending a fortune. They're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars to try and prop up the birth rate, and it's failing abysmally. And I'm writing a book now, which will be probably released later on next year. It's waiting for some research fundings that are coming in, basically looking at it, and what we've worked out quite clearly is that what's happening is a change of attitude. People are just prioritizing other things like success, status, wealth, likes on Facebook, leisure, anything else above children and family and community, those kind of things. Individual goals over group goals. It's a basic change in character. We think it has epigenetic roots, which is in the way your genes function. Something about prosperity and the individual society, and too much food and drugs and all kinds of things is just changing character in a really bad way. So what we're looking at is a technological fix, a way that will help people to become more community-minded, you might say, and happier at the same time. So there's a research program that I'm funding, which is costing something over $3 million a year. We've got some really interesting, exciting findings. We're actually looking to develop treatments to help reverse this whole process, which will help people to live happier lives as well.
So a bit of light reading.
Bit of light reading,
yeah,
but it's actually going to be understandable. Yeah. I'm working with an editor, we're working very hard. I've written books in the past, which are a little bit dense. This one is really carefully calculated, so it's accurate, but anybody can understand it. And we think it'll go well.
Hopefully it does. And what other book are you working on? There is another one.
I've got another book that I'm sort of basically starting on about health and happiness, which is actually very similar in terms of the recommendations. But that one too, yeah.
There you go. So you're trying to, hopefully the birth rate book will be next year sometime. We don't know the date yet. Is it going to be mid-year, later on?
Probably late next year.
Late next year.
The big delay is because we're running a series of experiments to actually look at things like dopamine receptors and methylation patterns. So we really want to see the results of those completed. we're testing thousands of different drugs using brain cells in small containers. You actually look and you put thousands of different drugs that you can get from databases and so forth, and looking for methylation patterns, epigenetic patterns, which is what we're looking for. We know what they should look like. So there's things like that. And then looking at the effect of food restriction on rats and how it changes their brains in various ways.
It's exciting times.
It is. It's very interesting.
Anyone got any more questions for Jim? Yep, go on. Great.
Basically a two-part question. What did you do for hobbies when you were younger? Is that still the same as your hobbies now? And what inspired you when you were, I guess, in your 20s and 30s? Is that the same thing that sort of inspires you and keeps you motivated now? Has that changed?
Well, I've always loved computer games since they've been around, I have to say. That can be a bit of a struggle sometimes. I probably play half an hour, a bit even more a day in that. I read a lot. I've always been a big reader. Probably more in recent years with talking books, because I can live. I'm running on a treadmill, or I'm working on my farm, and I can listen. All these great ideas coming through my mind all the time. So I've always been a big reader. I'm still a big reader. The one thing I do now that I didn't used to do as a hobby is gardening, because when I was a mowing contractor, of course, that was my job. So it wasn't what I did in my spare time. In fact, one time my wife got so upset at me for not mowing lawn, she threatened to call VIP to tell him to come and mow it. So I said, all right, I'll get it and do it. So what are my hobbies?
Don't know, Jim. What are your hobbies?
I don't know. I spend a lot of time with my church. I'm very active in my church. See a lot of my kids. Well, I've got so many of them, so it's easy to do. That's my fourth, and I've got a fifth on the way. So, yeah, I've got things to do.
And the research project, obviously, biohistory.org takes up a lot of your time.
Well, that's not exactly a hobby.
It's not a hobby, but I'm just saying that's where
it's an interest. It does take time. I spend a lot of time writing and reading to do with that. Yeah.
There you go. Good questions. All right, if no one's got anyone got any more questions for Jim before we? Yep, go. Yeah. Come and ask him. Yep, go for it. It's all for you.
I suppose, what's the hardest thing about being Jim?
Hardest thing about being Jim? It's a good one.
I have a pretty good life, actually. I mean, really, I don't think it's hard. You know what's really wonderful, though? I went to the wedding of a friend a couple of weeks back, and this guy asked me, what do you do? And I was really pleased, because he had no idea who I was. So I said to him, I have a business that looks after cleaning and gardening. Didn't have a clue. I love being anonymous, I must say. I think I used to enjoy that. We used to be in a small group at my church, one church I was at, and we were in a small group that met every week for 6 months after the Sunday service, and it took 6 months for one to kind of figure out actually who I was. He didn't know. My children never say, by the way. They never admit it. Actually, one day my son, my 15-year-old, who was about 14 at the time, forgot his bathers. So I had to drive to school and give them to him. So I went to the pool where they were there, and I picked them up and they threw them these bathers. They said, "You stupid kid, forgetting his bathers." And then all his classmates figured out who his father was, and suddenly he was kind of like some mini celebrity, which embarrassed the hell out of him. In fact, when I went to drop him off after at a one of those paintball games, he said, he rang me, "Don't get out of the car, Dad." Embarrasses me.
There you go. You had one question
so
as well?
Being famous is sort of...
Yeah, come on.
No, people aren't unpleasant to me, but sometimes I wish I'd be more anonymous, that's for sure.
I have two questions. I just want to ask it because we want to start our franchise as a family business, and my family is really important for me. I have a question. After such a successful journey, do you feel deeply, truly happy inside yourself? And the other part is, has there been any part of your life that you feel might have been affected because of your career?
It's a really good question. It's a great question. I doubt there's a happier person on the face of the earth than I am, but I don't think it's got a lot to do with being successful in financial terms. I have an amazingly wonderful wife. And I'm going to look forward when I finish here going back to see her, and I'll give her a big hug. She's the joy of my life. My kids are great. I love my children. I got some wonderful, wonderful children. I've got very good health. I've got a big sense of meaning in my life. I work for a purpose. I get up for a reason. I have a sense of purpose in my research, and I have a sense of purpose in you and my franchisees, which is why I don't mind you contacting me after hours. I don't mind it. I'm happy to do it because it's important. So, and yeah, and I live a fairly disciplined sort of life. The key to a good life is to do the things that you should be doing rather than things you immediately feel like doing, like exercising and controlling your diet. And my church is a big thing too. I'm an active churchgoer. There's a science to happiness, actually. So I am incredibly fortunate. But I think most things really is something that I think anybody can achieve, particularly somebody who has like a franchise with flexible life and lifestyle and ability to spend time with family and the things that matter to you. But the one thing I'm completely blessed at is my wife, because that's just an amazing blessing. It really is. The two greatest days in my whole life was when I became a Christian when I was 28, which was a big change, really changed my life around, and when I met Lee, which was on the 20th of April 2001. And every year, for many years, we used to go back to the railway station to reenact our meeting, because I actually met her. I walked up the platform, and then they redeveloped the station. We couldn't do it anymore. But I think the things that matters. People have this idea that having more and more stuff is what makes you happy. It's just completely false. The best way to spend money, you've got is on relationships, on experiences, on being with people that you love. Having enough so that you're not financially constrained, so you've got a flexible lifestyle, so you've got time for the people that matter. But buying expensive, the first time I ever bought a new car in my life was 2 years ago when I bought an electric car. And that's because I wanted to go electric. And I'll probably have that car for the next 20 years. So, no, that's a great question, it really is.
Hence the title of the new book, No Other Success. So that's one of your
No
favourite
other
quotes.
success.
Yeah.
I don't believe success at the expense of family is worth it. And I love the stories about people who actually, that's why I started the book with that particular story, because to me that's the epitome of everything that we do. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. There's a very brother, a very close friend of mine who committed suicide some years back. And this guy was very wealthy, actually richer than I am. And he killed himself. Why? He's in despair because his whole family is so screwed up. Something to do with his daughter. It was just really sad. No amount of money can make up for that. And I see there's some people who are rich, really wealthy, billionaires, and their lives are so wretched.
Look at Murdoch, three of his kids hate him. The trusting that went through.
He got married. Murdoch. Look, I admire Rupert Murdoch in a lot of ways, actually, because I think they're very good to us during COVID, so I've got a pretty good soft spot for him. But it's pretty sad. His latest wedding, only one of his children came, one. And that's not good.
Not good, no.
And even someone like Bill Gates that I personally admire, I think it's pretty sad too. His marriage is breaking down now.
That's done, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And it's sad.
There you go. And I've got one here real quickly, Glenn. So Glenn has asked for your email. Jim's email is very easy, so he says it all the time.
Jim@jims.net.
Jim@jims.net. So there you go, Glenn. We don't need to send you the email, just send Jim.
I'm extremely easy to reach by email.
Yeah, absolutely.
If somebody wants to sell me something, I don't often respond, but
Yeah,
I get a lot of those.
Yeah.
But if somebody has a genuine offer, something, I respond quite quickly.
There we go. So Jim, thank you very much for your time tonight and also the year. These have been great to do it. Now, Jim, you wrote down some questions there that resonate with you. Now, everyone who asked a question up here will get a prize anyway. So this is just for the order of what they can pick. So we do have Monopoly available too. So if you want a Jim's Monopoly, let me know and I'll get you that tomorrow. So
well, the question about happiness, that's my favourite.
Cool.
I think that's a great question.
Awesome. So what prize
First
do you
prize,
want?
whatever you want. You can have the Monopoly, anything you want.
Yeah. Do you want that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll get you that.
Okay.
I'll get you that tomorrow. So come to the national office tomorrow and we'll get that for you.
I like the
Cool.
question about somebody who says, does anybody say no to you?
Yeah, I like that one. Was
Who
that
said that?
the young man over here with the grey hair?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Come up and get what you like.
I love
Come on,
questions that
come
never
pick
been
what you
asked
like.
before, so come and pick something if you like.
Come and pick what you like. It's got a great mullet too.
And the
Jim's
other
mullet
question
is
about
good.
Bizza was good. Who mentioned Bizza?
Which one? The question as well. Come and see me. You can get something. You can take what you like. You take
Is
the
this
beer,
like anything?
anything. Take the beers, shirt, whatever.
Are these beers real?
They are real beers, yes. You can give it a go and let me know. They are very real. You can take a whole 6-pack if you want.
Whole 6-pack?
Yeah, for sure. Take the whole 6-pack.
The whole thing there.
Cool. And what would you like? You can take anything you like.
The beer.
You want the beer as well? All right, cool.
I'm told it's
You can get a hat. Now, what we'll do is, real quickly, thanks for that. So what I'll remember as well, so guys, we're going to finish up now. So if you ask Jim a question, come up, you can take anything you like here as well.
If you ask more than one, come and take more than one.
Absolutely. But now's a good time to get a photo too of Jim. There's a nice light there as well. So thank you for your attention and good luck with your training week.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you. You've been a great audience.